topic is cultivation through relationships. And what I wanted to do first of all is to acknowledge Miss Lily. Miss Lily is the founder of this. About 20 years ago, she introduced me to this concept that I'm going to be talking about today. And what I wanted to do is to tell you a little about what Tao is. So the literal meaning of Tao from Chinese to English is the way or the path. And cultivating Tao to cultivate your mind and your spirit towards harmony and inner peace as you go through your journey of life. So these concepts I'm talking about are not new. They are pretty central to all of the major religions. But what I try to do is to take those concepts and apply them to real life. And I believe that the theory itself is good, but the real value is applying it to real life. So as we talk about this, I think of this more of an applied philosophy, how we can use it to cultivate ourselves. So I wanted to kind of start off by reading a quote for you, since we're talking about relationships. And this is a quote from a book from William Shakespeare. He says, "All the world is a stage, and we are merely players." And what that means is that we are born into this world, and we define ourselves by our roles. So the whole world is like a stage. And when you're first born, people label you, oh, you're a boy or a girl. They give you a name and they call you and say Venkat, and after a while you realize, oh, they're talking about me. And then when you get older, they label you as, bright or funny. As you get older, then you have an occupation. So you are known as a consultant, or you're known as a father. So these are all labels, identities that people define you. So as Shakespeare says, the world is a stage, we're all players. So we are all given this. So we, as we go older, we start to define ourselves by those. We define ourselves by the car we drive, or a title, the clothes that we wear, but we are not really that person. That's just the role that we're playing. Now, you can't exist in the modern world unless you have relationships. Because unless you live in a vacuum, you have to interact with other people. So in life, you will always have relationships. You have a relationship, child to parent, you have spouse to spouse, or a boss to a worker, or co-workers. So in this world, you always have to have some sort of relationship. The complications that arrive in our life is when we start to take our role too seriously. Whenever we have our ego to take center stage, then we start to think of us as the main actor in the play. We start to believe that this role that we are playing is what it's all about. And it isn't. Because we know that this world is impermanent. We know that nothing lasts forever. But yet we get so attached to this ego, we get attached to our possessions, that our whole life is revolved around what we have, what we possess. But that's not who we really are. Remember that when we come into this world, there's something that existed before. And we come into this world for a short period of time, and then we exit the world. So when the play is over, if you existed before and after, we're here for such a short period, and yet we think of this as the basis of all reality. Sometimes that we forget that we are not just a body with a spirit. Sometimes we forget that we are actually a spirit that is in this body for a certain period of time. So, when we talk about impermanent, we are limited to what we see by what we perceive by our five senses. So what we see, or we hear, or we say, or touch, or what we think, this is the limitation that we have of how we experience the world. But being here, there is a value of being here. There's a value of being on the stage. There's an opportunity for us being in this world. And the world that we're in, which we have relationships, gives us the most opportunity as human beings to cultivate. Because through your relationships with other people, you have the opportunity to impact other people. That means that your life doesn't have meaning because of what you drive or what you own. 100 years from now, people are not going to remember what car you drove. But people, you never go to a funeral and they say, yeah, you know, Ernie Biles is dead, but I really like his car. They don't say that. At a funeral, they say, hey, you know, Ernie Biles, he was nice to me, or he helped me out. It's all about relationships at the end of the day. But we take so much pride into what we wear and other things. Sometimes we miss the focus of life. So, what I'm saying here is that the real purpose of life is not what we possess, but in the relationships that we have. After you pass away, what will be important, the way that you will be measured is by the seeds you have planted and the people that you have touched while you're here. So being a human gives you the most opportunity for you to cultivate. Because not only do you have all of your senses, but you also have a mind, you also have a way that you can cultivate with other people. For example, if you cultivate yourself, and you cultivate yourself through your thoughts, then you're the only person you cultivate. But when you talk to somebody else, not only are you cultivating yourself, but you're also planting seeds in another person. So anytime you interact in a relationship, you have the opportunity not to only cultivate yourself, but also to plant seeds in other people. By the way, if you have questions along the way, there's paper, you can write it down. And what I'm going to do is after I talk, then I'll open it up to questions, and then we'll have some discussions. And the focus today again is about relationships. So if you have questions, if you have questions about like relationships, the ground rule is that we're not going to use people's names specifically. But what we'll do is we'll say stuff like, hypothetically, if I was married to a Taiwanese woman with $2. So we don't want to make it too personal. We want to relax. All right, so as we pass those around, I'm going to talk a little bit about relationships. And what I want to do is to start with your relationship with yourself. Remember the last time we got together, we talked about the song about rowing to row your boat. No, so we know that nursery rhyme, row your boat. Okay, and so when we talk about that nursery rhyme, it says in there, row your boat. It doesn't say row somebody else's boat. It says row your boat. And so what we say is first start with yourself. As Michael Jackson says, you look at the person in the mirror first. So when you start to talk about yourself, cultivating yourself, all of us have two sides to us. One is we're the better part of who we are, who we can be, and the other part of us that needs some work. All of us are like that. We're a work in progress. So